Hello, everybody, and welcome to Astrology. We're going to talk about the up and coming full moon on the 3rd of the 1st, 2026, earlier in the new year in Cancer. Now, before I do that, I just want to announce that I am going to do a Year of the Horse live and I've set the date now, so it is the 15th of the 2nd, 26 on a Sunday evening. That's 8 p.m. That'll be Australian Eastern Daylight Time. For those who are interested, I've got quite a few dates of birth because for those who don't know, I do run through the personal dates, but personal dates of birth. God, I can't string a sentence together today. Everyone's date of birth, and because I make it personal, right? I've just done my annual Year of the Horse YouTube video. For those who haven't checked that out, I just don't talk general themes about the Year of the Horse. I want to make it more personal in connection with people's charts. It makes it far more interesting. So for those who would like to actually get involved in that, you can just DM me either on Instagram or Substack, or if you feel comfortable, you can leave your date of birth and time in the comments below. But we'll talk about the up and coming full moon, which is going to be a highly charged one coming up. And so the year it's going to be another super full moon in the sign of Cancer. So obviously the moon's very comfortable in this sign. And there's a number of aspects going on with this moon, but we'll talk about those in a sec. But generally, Cancer's cardinal water and in cardinal signs. And of course, cardinal signs are known for initiating change. So I think at this time we can expect some pretty big emotional breakthroughs that will come through with this full moon. And Cancer moons generally are, obviously our sensitivity is going to be heightened, and sometimes we can get really oversensitive at times, and very protective as well of what we're feeling, and maybe protective of our loved ones as well, because we've got to remember Cancer rules the family as well, the home, the family unit. And when this moon in Cancer, so generally the moon in Cancer is, usually we like to feel secure, and we like to feel nurtured or being nurtured by others. So it can really strongly finely tune our natural sense of timing and the ability to tune into hunches, right? Intuitions and emotional subtleties, right? There can be some very, very strong sensitivity that can come in at this time. And so full moons in Cancer can make us very sensitive to moods of others and reactions of others. And obviously we can at times be moody as well. It just depends on where it's placed in our chart. But since the sign of Cancer actually strongly connects to the past, so strong memories can surge during this full moon, and we can be overprotective of our emotions, and these emotions can still color our attitudes towards the present. But the Cancerian it's all about the past, and it's really, really strongly connected to that. And the memories can be strong, and particularly if the moon's placed in the third house natally, right? In an astrology chart, people will have extreme where the moon's in joy, loves being in the third house, but people can have extremely good memories, almost photographic, and really can connect to the past. And I'd also say probably on another note, a bit of a side note too, people with south nodes in Cancers can have extremely these kind of strong memories as well. And a lot of times too, the Cancerian south node can we can be so emotional actually to the point where our emotions during this lifetime can be our undoing. So full moons are obviously about releasing anything, anything tied to the past. And I guess a full moon in Cancer will release anything to do with family, ancestral shedding, the shadow emotional ties that keep us restrained from our own evolution will be released at this time. And particularly if you've been doing it in a homework, right? You know, it's a very, very good time to let go of things on a psych level. And I just wanted to talk, which I don't usually talk so much about, but I want to talk a little bit about the Sabian symbol involved in this, because I think it's gives us the Sabian symbols at times when I read them, they're pretty cryptic, but at other times they can give us extremely good emotional clues about what can be presenting and coming up from within during a full moon. And this one reads at 14 degrees of Cancer, so it's a very old man facing a vast dark space to the northeast, right? And the theme of this symbol is hidden reserves. So this symbol speaks of inner strength and to the fact that man is always free to choose his beginnings. Future events can never limit present aspiration. The image of an old man facing a very dark space, facing the northeast, has a lonely feel to it. But the emphasis is on fearlessness, courage, and inner assurance that arises out of experience, wisdom, and faith. And the wisdom of faith actually is a very key. They're very key words for this moon, actually, because Jupiter's actually retrograding and applying to this full moon in a conjunction. So faith and wisdom during this time, faith and wisdom connected to our emotions, which we can learn around this time, right? So whatever we're feeling around this full moon, we can gain a lot of wisdom about ourselves with this tight Jupiter conjunction coming up. It's a little bit wide, but it's retrograding back to the moon. So the vast space to the northeast symbolizes the spiritual reality that supports all of our existence. All of existence, sorry. The message in this symbol is that no individual is ever truly alone, even in the darkest moments of the soul. And so the feelings that can come up, right, particularly around a full moon, and particularly full moons in water signs, the emotions can be really powerful, right? So it's very important for people to understand that if we're having a dark night of the soul, so to speak, or if we're getting plunged into the abyss, or we're feeling really, really deep, then just realize that really it's the spirit guiding us, right? And there's always a diva or helper there that can really initiate us and help us through this journey of the underworld if we get plummeted into it. But just don't get consumed by feelings. And also we've got to always remember feelings pass. So I just wanted to make that point. But so the Sabian symbol on the positive note, right, at its highest, this symbol represents invisible sustainment and an ability to move forward into the unknown with dignity and courage. On the negative side of it, if we get consumed by things, right, the fear of the future and an inability to understand the higher purpose in things. The opportunity with this Sabian symbol of this current full moon is your greatest advantage lies in your willingness to face the unknown and trust in the ultimate value of every experience. So guard against losing sight of your purpose and don't lose hope. And I think this Jupiter retrograde in conjunction with this moon is really going to, I think, really guide people a lot, because Jupiter's wisdom, Jupiter's the great teacher, and it enables us to have great faith in ourselves, right? So the important thing is not to lose hope. So, and I always get right into the decans because I think the decans are really important and they reflect obviously tarot symbolism. And when we look into astrology, right, astrology is the masculine and the tarot is the feminine, and they go hand in hand. So this full moon is connected to the 3 of Cancer by the decans, which is obviously the 3 of Cups in the tarot. And the Three of Cups carries the frequency of Mercury, right? So this card is connected to a mercurial in Cancer, in the sign of Cancer. So the frequency is Mercury in the sign of Cancer. So this enables one to think and feel with accuracy at the same time, and also gives instinctive intelligence that functions easily and naturally. So around this moon, right, thoughts and feelings are going to connect, and receptivity, sensibility, a quick mind, intensity, and deep human sympathy are the principal factors when it comes to this full moon. And there can also be the gift of speech, both in talking and writing, when it comes to the Cancer threes, right, or the Three of Cups, so to speak. According to the symbols of the cycle, they also have a gift of silence, right? When Mercury is in the sign of Cancer, generally we can intuit a lot of ideas, and ideas are deeply connected to feeling. And I think that it's important to really honor that, and things, the speech and writing and talking, and we can get quite protective of our own thoughts, right? Because we've got to remember as well at this time that the sign of Cancer and Mercury, Cancer is very protective, and we can tend to protect our thoughts a lot. So whatever comes up, my advice is, well, really just write or keep it quite private. And that'll all depend on where it lands, right, when it comes to the natal signs. Sorry, the 12 signs, the 12 rising signs, and where it falls in your chart, which I'll go through. So aspects associated with this full moon are, like what I said, at Jupiter. Jupiter's retrograde at the moment, and it's in conjunction, it's moving, applying conjunction to the moon at this time. The sun is always in opposition when it comes to full moons, obviously, because that's the polarity of what creates the full moon. But there's also a stellium aspect going on here, and if people don't know what a stellium is, it's the three planets together, pretty much. And we have Mars and Venus in conjunction with the sun at this time, in opposition to the moon. So this can indicate what needs to balance is, to me, the stellium represents that we need to balance responsibility, that being public and private, with our own emotional needs at this time. So Mars in opposition to the moon can test relationships, and there will be a need to compromise as well. The oppositions can be probably the most difficult aspects that can happen, because they can create a lot of conflict and uneasiness within ourselves. And of course, the oppositions are always the ability to project onto someone. So this can be difficult for some, particularly if we've disowned certain parts of ourselves and haven't really worked and developed these, especially the archetypes of these planets, and particularly the Martian principle and the Venetian one as well. So depending on where this falls, and this will probably be more so for those who have the moon in the 1st and 7th house polarity going on, because obviously this is going to be the projection onto relationships and things like this. So the Venus opposition will challenge our values at this time. And I would say too, if we get into degree theory, which I do, because I tend to always look at the degrees, which are Nicola definitely, I've done his degree theories course, and I think it's really important, because it just adds another subtone to the moon. And of course 13 degrees is the Aryan degree, right? So it can be quite fiery, instinctive, fiery energy to this moon, which I think can stimulate the collective at this time to take charge of their emotional well-being at this time. And it can also stimulate us to take action in protecting our home and, of course, family environment, which this is going to happen, right? Because full moons in Cancer, people are going to be feeling more connected to family and probably want to nurture and protect it at this time. And of course, with that Aryan energy around the flavor of this, we're going to be quite proactive in doing this. So Aries and Aries rising will have this full moon in Cancer in the 4th house. So this is going to put the spotlight or illuminate the themes of family, roots, and your inner foundation. So the stellium in Capricorn, in opposition to the 10th house with Mars, can indicate work demands. Work can get really demanding and can clash with our emotional needs. And we can also, when this happens as well, we can also, maybe we're getting challenged by an authority figure or a boss or some fiery people in the workplace, and which could also trigger our values. And this will be in connection with the opposition to Venus as well within the workplace. But home will be the sanctuary at this time, and a place to where we want to feel, where we can recharge our emotions. So rest is really important at this time, and you probably want to retreat back at home and treat it as a sanctuary at this time, particularly with the Mars opposition, because we can get more prone to burning ourselves out in the workplace. And look, there can also be a great need to release old emotional wounds in relation to your own inner foundation and family roots, ancestral roots at this time with this moon. But I also think probably the main issue for you guys will be at this time that you're being pulled between work life and family life during this full moon. And, you know, when we've got these oppositions, like there can be strong demands at home, like you feel like, oh, I really need to be there to support my family, and then you're getting pulled out into the world. So there's that kind of, with that 10th house stellium opposition, that can be quite difficult to balance at this time. But I'll also say with Jupiter retrograding square Chiron in your first can trigger wounds from the past that will be affecting yourself at this time, because anything with that square affecting the Chiron, you guys have got Chiron in the first house, that's really, we can feel that pretty much in the body, and that Jupiter type square is connecting from the 4th house to the 1st. So there can be wounds that can really come up at this time from the past that may need to be dealt with. The Taurus rising will be having this full moon in the 3rd house, and the moon loves being in this house. It's like they talk about planetary joys, particularly in Hellenistic astrology, and the moon loves being in the 3rd house. So the Taurus type will, I think at this time, because the 3rd house has a mercurial subtone to it, and it will give the Taurians will highlight a lot of mental clarity, and this can be around neighbors and siblings. I mean, if we've had misunderstandings with these types, our neighbors or our siblings, then it can be a good time to really heal these kind of misunderstandings. I think the intuition will be extremely heightened at this point in time and bring a lot of clarity, particularly when it comes to communication. And it's a good time to really communicate ideas when the moon is here, or write them down, podcast, you know, either podcasting or using the tech in any kind of shape or form. And we may have, you know, we may be a time to something that we started 6 months ago. We had an idea of some time ago when the new moon was in this house, and then we've maybe we want to release something we started, you know, some writing project or some tech project or podcast or whatever it is, right? It can even be a website, whatever. But now's the time to launch it or get it released out into the world. But this stellium opposition to Chiron and Knights in the 9th house, right? We may have some conflicts with the mind and battles with the mind, particularly with Mars there, or there can be a challenge of values, maybe philosophical values at this time. We may be battling an idea of some kind, because we've got to remember wherever Mars is where we battle. And And the battle could be a new idea that challenge our values at this time with Venus there, right? So the ninth house is about the higher mind, philosophical thinking. Now it's a good time for the Taurus rising to express any ideas at this point, I believe. And you may have, like I said, an idea that you had 6 months ago maybe come to fruition at this time. But I think generally it's a really good time to write and journal, and which can help process the emotional energy coming up at this time. The Gemini full moon will be having it in the second house. This is the spotlight will be on your finances. This is the money moon. So you could be more focused on emotion, focus your energy on financial security at this time. Or maybe you're reaping the rewards actually, because whatever you started 6 months ago, if you had goals and things like this in regards to finances, and with this full moon coming up, then maybe you've illuminated and reached some of your financial goals, which will help deal with your self-esteem and security, because this is the house of that as well. There can be clarity on relationship worth, as Jupiter at this time is retrograde in the second house, but it is connected to your seventh house, which is to do with your personal relationships and professional as well. So you could get some clarity on your relationship, because wherever this moon is spotlighting is connecting to that house as well. The opposition to Chiron, stellium in the eighth, can indicate being torn between impulse buying or buying something with a partner as well. And because sometimes with Jupiter retrograding in the second house can also indicate looking again to make a major purchase of some kind, because it's about making large purchases. But with that opposition to the eighth, then we'll have to double check maybe with your spouse, or because but usually with Jupiter there, we want to make a large purchase, and we've probably considered something a while ago. I really want to buy that. Maybe I don't have the money, but now you do. And you're reevaluating and you're going over and you say, oh, I really want to purchase that item. And usually with Jupiter in there, it's going to be a major expensive. So it's going to be something substantial, right? And something we've held back from in the past, now we're considered purchasing again. But also with Venus in opposition there, if we've been looking for loans and things like this, they may actually even get approved now. Cancer will be having this full moon in the first house, and the moon's the lord of your chart for the Cancer rising, and you guys obviously need to pay attention to what the moon's doing all the time, because you're ruled by this, and particularly lunar eclipses coming up are extremely important for you guys. Just giving you the heads up on that if you don't know. But you will be feeling this full moon the most, and if you're going through physical changes emotionally and physically, then you may start seeing the changes at this point. You're going to be really super sensitive at this time, because the first house is how we present ourselves to the world as the immediate environment. And with the moon here, we can be, especially in Cancer, we can really pick up on the energies around us. So and we can be super sensitive, and at times we may even wear our hearts on our sleeves. So with the stellium in opposition to Capricorn in the seventh house, this is you versus them, and there can be like power struggles with a partner, and there can be personal partner or professional, particularly with Mars there. Or your partner may need a lot more attention right now, or need to be taken care of in some way, which may challenge you personally. So this is a good time to nurture yourself and avoid being over defensive and reacting to other people's emotions, particularly with Mars there, right? You can really fly off the handle, particularly with the opposition, and easily project. But I also say Jupiter retrograding in conjunction with the moon ruling the sixth house can give you focus on the physical body and health. I would just say we're past Christmas now when I wrote this, but where sometimes with Jupiter in the first house, it can expand the waistline, so we can easily put on weight. And Jupiter square Chiron in the from the 1st to the 10th this is going to be a big one actually, because this can trigger wounds in regards to career, public status and recognition, right? These identity wounds, identity being the first house, and of course the 10th house has a lot to do with the work and the work environment. So I would just say that you guys are going to be extremely sensitive around this moon, and it's a good time to embrace your sensitivity as a strength, right? Not a weakness at this time. Leo rising will have the full moon in the 12th. And the 12th house is obviously a deep private placement for the moon. And this moon can reveal like hidden matters, things to do with the psyche, spirituality. It could also be about closure. It's a good time to reflect emotionally and rest. Your spiritual perspective can change during this full moon. It definitely can with things that come up in the 12th. It can trigger deep things from the reservoirs of our psyche, so things can come up. And the stellium in opposition to the 6 can give you the how can I put this? It's the isolation versus responsibility conflict, because the 6th house is all about work, and you could be working hard, particularly with all those energies in Capricorn. But then, you really need to take that time to recharge. So it's probably a good time to do retreats, spend time alone, and work on unconscious feelings that surface at this time, which can be highly expansive right during this full moon. With Jupiter there in the 12th house as well. So and Jupiter ruling the 5th can draw expansive feelings from relationships that need to be addressed as well, right? The Jupiter square Chiron can bring up subconscious wounds in connection to the emotional self-expression, which will demand an ego death of some kind in order to heal. And the full moon is always seeking balance, right? It's especially where it is in your 6th house. So the healthier daily routines and being productive, right? Your soul really needs to rest at this time. So just be mindful. In a nutshell, this is what I'm trying to say. Be mindful of overwork and no rest at this time. Virgo will be having the full moon in the 11th. This is the house of social networks, friends, groups, goals, wish fulfillment. Emotional fulfillment can come through these areas. During this full moon, relationships can definitely kind of shift and deepen at this time. And group projects, if you're involved in these at work, can actually really escalate at this time. So the stellium in Capricorn in opposition to the 5th is about balancing ideals and realistic structures. And because obviously with many planets in Capricorn in the 5th, right, we can tend to take life really seriously. It's hard to have the playtime. And because the Capricorn energy is pretty practical and grounded and serious, right? And so, the 5th house can be about romance and dating and things like this. So romance and things like this can get serious, or you're looking for a serious commitment. It can be a good time to release groups that are not supportive of your emotional needs, or groups that are toxic and no longer helpful in your own evolution at this time. It's a good time to release those. The Jupiter retrograde in the 11th rules his 7th house of relationships. So if single, right, because Jupiter's ruling your chances of connecting with someone and meeting someone, then there's a good chance that you can meet someone through your social circles at this time. Libra will be having this full moon. Libra rising will be having this full moon in the 10th house. So this is highlighting career and work, which is really coming into illuminate at this time. And really bring your status recognition and how you relate to people out into the world. So this can be actually a pretty big thing for the Libra, because the Libra ascendant, because there can be really peaks that have happened or career milestones that can hit the point of bringing a lot of emotional fulfillment at this time. Something you've really been working towards, now you can be really reaping the rewards. The stellium, the opposition stellium in Capricorn in the fourth can be demanding from the home front. So like you could be emotionally pulled between these two houses, the work and family dynamics. You could be reaping rewards at work with major activities. You could be really killing it in the workspace, but then there can be a lot of things going on in the family, in the home life as well. So balance and work life will be on the home front during this full moon for you guys. Jupiter retrograde in the 10th is suggesting kind of inner wisdom is kind of being taught during this full moon, especially with the Jupiter squaring Chiron, right? So this can really bring up some deep inner wounds. But Chiron always brings wisdom along with it as well. So your public image, so what I'm saying is really that the public image wounds can surface at this time because this is affecting you out in the 10th house. So, but it can also, in hindsight, give you some either maybe the teaching and mentoring roles may take place for you in the workspace as well, because this is what Chiron is the mentor and teacher as well. And in this angle with Jupiter, you'll be able to share the wisdom from these wounds and really give to other people at this time. Scorpio, we're having this full moon in the 9th house. So this can be the house of beliefs. The full moon in this house is about beliefs, your own beliefs, and beliefs around homeland, traveling, foreign cultures, ceremonies, weddings, graduations, all kind of rule this house. So emotional growth can come through these areas at this time. There can be completions of academic achievements, or higher education can be prevalent at this time. Maybe you've completed something, about to release it out. There's a feeling of completion around here. The stellium opposition in the 3rd in Capricorn can ground your ideas. It can help ground ideas into reality at this point. So the 3rd house is the mind, and planets in Capricorn can really draw it and ground it and make them practical. It's a good time to release. This is a time of releasing limiting views of the mind, particularly, and focus on philosophical expansion. Emotionally invested in subjects that uplift the body, mind, and spirit at this time, because obviously these subjects, the 9th house is about your own personal beliefs, your own personal philosophies. And with Jupiter there, right, retrograding in conjunction to the moon, you'll have a strong inner faith at this time and probably want to really reevaluate your own personal philosophy at this time. For Sagittarius rising, we're having this full moon in the 8th house. This is the house of intimacy, death, wills, joint resources, and taxes. A deep psychological house where it's very, very powerful emotions will be heightened at this time, with creating greater intimacy and releasing close bonds, right? There can be a strong emphasis on finances at this time, with the Capricorn stellium in opposition in the 2nd house to do with personal finances and resources. There can be a lot of times, there can be a lot of spending at this time, especially with the Mars placement here, because you can tend to burn through money quickly. There can be a lot of quick impulse buying at this time. Maybe the Capricorn energy might kind of slow that down a bit. Mars likes being in Capricorn, the sign. It's in exaltation in that sign. So yes, but just be mindful, because usually with Mars there, right, you can just tend to like, I want to take that and quickly spend, right? But Jupiter retrograde in the 8th in conjunction to the Moon can indicate an inheritance that could come through at this time, particularly through the mother's side of the family. Loans could potentially get approved at this time. But I also think that for people who've been doing their psychological homework with personal issues they've had on that psychological level that they've started 6 months ago, will have really, really good breakthroughs at this time, because it's a really, everything will come to fruition if you've been doing inner homework for the Sag rising at this time. Capricorn will be having this full moon in the 7th house for the Capricorn rising, so relationships are really highlighted this time and are in the spotlight. So the balance is going to between give and take will come into play with the stellium and the Capricorn in opposition in the first house. So emotional expansion will be heightened with Jupiter retrograde and this conjunction in the full moon. So the Jupiter is retrograde in the 7th, but it's also ruling the 12th house. So something could be revealed when it comes to things. Maybe your partner will open up or tell you something, or a hidden thing or a secret that they've held, that all of a sudden will come out at this point in time. The oppositions in the first can also test boundaries, especially with projections, right? And like I said before, I think in one of the other ones, it's a flip side of this, and the opposition is connected to me versus them. First house being me and the 7th house them. This can also mirror ambition, right, versus nurturing. And Jupiter retrograde in conjunction to the Moon can make you really reevaluate your relationship in an optimistic way, right? Jupiter's there, you can get more optimistic and positive, and maybe revisit an issue that you've needed to address, and you're looking at it in a more positive light at this time. So this can indicate sudden growth in relationships. If single, you may meet someone who could be a foreigner, actually, right? As Jupiter's in your 7th house, right? Retrograding back. And because Jupiter represents foreign cultures. And Jupiter's actually squaring Chiron as well in the 4th house, which can bring up emotional relation wounds to do with family, ancestry, and home at this time. Aquarius rising will have this full moon in the 6th house, and this will be emotional well-being at this time can be connected to your health and daily habits and daily routines. The stellium in opposition to Capricorn, the 12th, is reflective of the work-rest balance dynamic. With Mars in the 12th house, the unconscious drive can be strong, so we have to be careful not to burn ourselves out from excessive workloads. There can also be breakthroughs at this time, as well as an office change or job, as this is the house of employment. The 6th house rules employment, so this can be a good time to change your relationships with food and eating habits, because the moon here does represent eating and how we nurture ourselves and our daily habits. This can be a good time to release overwork patterns, a time to rest and take retreats to look after the physical body. And looking after the physical body will help balance out your psyche at this time. The Jupiter square Chiron in the 3rd house can indicate hands-on or healing with hands, because the 3rd house is about learning. So we can really learn some healing or hands-on technique, right? Chiron in a house can indicate a learning or doing because the 3rd house is short courses, and the Chiron's about working with the hands. So, but it also can be a time of teaching yourself health habits that help you balance out your daily routines and work-life balance as well. So with the moon in this house, it's always a good time to release negative eating habits and things like this. That's what I would suggest, and really look at ways how you sustain and nourish your body on a day-to-day basis. Pisces rising will have this full moon in the 5th house, so this is a party time for you guys. This is a time where romantic relationships or creative projects, pregnancies, inner child healing, theatre, drama, risk-taking are on the forefront. They all rule this 5th house. The stellium in opposition to the 11th in Capricorn is rules friends and social networks, and having Capricorn here, right, can indicate maybe you're getting held accountable for your networks or something to do with social networks and things like this, right? So whatever you've been working on at this time now is to bring it out into reality, right? If you've had this creative project that you want to produce and, you know, bring it out and connect with other people, particularly with all those placements in Capricorn, now's a good time. And Jupiter retrograde conjunct the moon ruling the 10th house can bring creative breakthroughs at work at this time. And it can also bring a newfound faith when it comes to relationships. Jupiter rules faith, and having faith in relationships, and the retrograding square that Jupiter's going through to Chiron in the 2nd house can help bring up, or can bring up creative wounds, actually, to do with connections, to do with finances and creative projects as well, right? In other words, right, you know, when things are coming up, then you question, you've had a great creative idea. It's like, well, how the hell am I going to get the money to invest in this? I don't have it. Or I want to design something and create, but I have the resources to support this project, right? With this Chiron in the 2nd, you can be really questioning how to finance things, and I would just say, don't let that hold you back. I think at this time you have to balance out your creative projects with your social obligations, obviously with the opposition to the 11th and the 5th house. But whatever it is you need to create, and you've had a great idea, and with Jupiter squaring the Chiron in the 2nd, you just might be really overthinking or and feeling quite sensitive to getting the funds to actually produce this kind of project that you may have been wanting to get out there. So that is it for my take on the Cancerian full moon coming up in the beginning of the new year. And Happy New Year to everyone. And for those who are really interested in my Year of the Horse thing, it's coming up soon. I announced the time, and I will put those dates into the comments below, into the section there. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll be in touch soon.